Hey, hi Manshu. Hi Kumar. Very good morning.
Hi Ravi.
So, Himanshu, we'll just wait for a few more minutes and then we'll get started. So,
Yep.
Himanshu, just a quick check. Hope you have completed your enrollment.
Yes, I have completed my enrollment.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Hey, hi Kumar. Good morning. Hey, hi Anupama. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Anupama, just a quick check. You have completed your enrollment.
Actually, no, I needed to connect with Rupa, so I have emailed her. Hopefully, I'll be connecting with her today.
Okay, sure. Thanks. Team, I'm sorry, just give me one more minute. We'll get started, team.
Hey, hello everyone. Very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, team. So we'll get resume. Uh, we'll get resume with today's session. So just a quick recap of what we saw in yesterday's session. I think. So in yesterday's session, we started with the user roles and securities, right? So we started with the users and securities. So we saw who are the different users we have in with regards to ORC. We have recruiter, hiring manager, recruiting administrators, and then we have a couple of secondary users. And then we also saw what is the navigation to recruiting module from different users. And then we went into security console. We saw the roles. So we started with roles. We will resume from there. So in order to access the security console, the navigation is we have to click on the navigator. Have to click on the navigator, and then we have to go to tools, and under tools you will see the security console. So once we go to security console, we can able to see all the roles which is there in the Fusion application. And in order to access to this particular screen, we need the IT security manager role. So this is the role which is needed. So we need to have this IT security manager role. So without this role, we cannot access the security console from any users. And with once you complete your subscription, once you complete your enrollment, right, then you will be getting access to our demo instance. And both the demo instance, you will be getting access with the security manager. That means, in both our instance, which we provide for your training and practice, right? So both the instance you can able to access the security consoles. Hmm. And so what we'll do is first we'll see the recruiter role, and then we'll take a duplicate of the recruiter role and then create our own custom recruiter role. And then we will do the same for the hiring manager role as well. Okay. So this is what the plan for today. So first we'll start with duplicating the recruiter role and see what kind of privileges we have, how to customize it, and then we'll see how to assign data security to the recruiter role. And then we'll go on to the hiring manager role. We'll create a duplicate. We'll copy the hiring manager role, create our own version, and then we'll see what are the privileges we have in the hiring manager role, and then we'll assign data security to the hiring manager role. So this is what the topics which we have planned to cover in today's session, team. So any doubts or questions so far before we start with the roles?
So yesterday, Ravi, you mentioned that we have job role, data
Mhm.
role, and privileges.
Yeah.
Can you explain the difference between all three?
Uh, sure. Let me just go down. Just give me 1 second. I'll just let me open another document. So you guys able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So roles, as I said in yesterday's session, right? In Fusion application, from the security perspective, right? The roles, everything works based on this functionality called as RBAC. Okay. RBAC, we call it as RBAC. RBAC stands for role-based access control. So let's take, Ravi as an employee in an organization. Okay. So Ravi can have multiple roles. Okay. So Ravi could be a line manager. Basically, Ravi starts as an employee. So Ravi basically starts as an employee, and then he also plays the role of a line manager, and then he also plays the role of an HR specialist. So Ravi would have three different roles. Okay. And each role will give him different privileges, different functionalities. Okay. So basically, what we do is like uh, who, what, and which data. Yeah, we also discussed this on yesterday's session. Right? So line managers, right? What line managers can able to do? Line managers can able to create performance documents, or line managers can able to create absence entries, and line managers can able to promote, terminate, hire an employee, create a requisitions. Okay. So in these are the functionalities or functions which an hiring manager can able to do. So for which set of data the hiring manager can able to do? For workers in their own hierarchy. Similarly, employees. What an employees can able to do? They can able to view the worker benefits. They can able to view the personal details and all. So for which data? For their own data. Similarly, HR specialists, they can able to promote, transfer, hire an employees, and all the functions they can able to do for the specified countries or for the specified set of employees. So in Fusion, we have four different type of roles. Just give me one second. So we have these are the different type of roles which we have in Fusion. Okay. We have data role, abstract role, job role, aggregated privilege, duty roles. So what is an abstract role? So abstract role are the seeded roles. Okay. So the employee role, line manager, and contingent worker. All these three roles are called as abstract roles. So basically they come as an standard along with the Fusion applications. Okay. And then they have their own set of duties and privileges. Okay. Next we have job roles. So what is a job role? Job roles are basically the human resource specialists, and the recruiters, hiring managers. So these are all basically the job roles. Okay. And then we have data roles. Data roles, what is the data role? Data role basically it is used to secure by what kind of data the employees can able to access with the help of the data roles. And then we have something called as aggregate privileges. Okay. So what is an aggregate privilege? So basically each and every functionality which the user can able to perform, right? That is what we call it as aggregate privileges. And the aggregate privileges cannot be assigned to the users directly. Okay. So we have to assign this aggregate privilege either inside an abstract role or a job role or a data role. Okay. And then the aggregate privileges, we cannot able to create, edit or delete the aggregate privileges. And then next we have something called as duty role. So what is a duty role? Basically the duty roles we cannot able to modify the predefined duty roles. So a group of aggregate privileges will be combined together and called as duty roles. Let's say, for example, we have something called as document of records. Okay. So I can have a functional, I can have a duty role called as managed document of records. Okay. So what does this managed document of record duty role does is it will include the aggregate privileges like view document, edit document, create document, and delete document. So four different privileges clubbed together called as duty role. Okay. And then I will import this duty role into my job role or an abstract role. So that's the difference between aggregate privilege, duty roles, job roles, abstract role, and data role. Is it clear, Anupama?
Yeah, so you mean to say aggregate privilege is inside duty role? Am I
Yes,
understanding?
exactly.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So I'll just go back to the application. So now first thing what we'll do is we'll start with the recruiter role. So I will search for recruiter. This is the role. And whenever you search for a role, right, you can able to see what type of role that is. For example, here, right, if you see recruiter is a job role. And then you see this one, recruiting candidate tracking transaction analysis. This is a duty role. That means if I just search for this, right, this is this duty role, right? It is inherited by the recruiting manager role. So you will be able to see that. For example, if I search for employee, you will see the abstract role. Okay? And if I search for hiring manager, you will see it falls under the abstract roles. Okay? So that's the difference between, that's how you can able to identify what type of role we are searching for. And we can only duplicate, abstract role, job role, and the duty roles. We cannot able to duplicate, the privileges. So first we'll start with recruiter. So this is the seeded recruiter role. Okay? So in order to customize it or in order to duplicate it, right? What you have to do is once we search for the role, you just click on this inverted triangle, and then you will see these four options. Okay? So what are these four options? First, we have edit role. So if we wanted to edit the role, we use this first option. Okay? And next we have this copy role. If you wanted to take a copy of this role and then create a new version for ourselves, we use this copy role. And then next we have compare role. So what is the purpose of this compare roles is, let's say you have two different recruiter roles. Okay, but recruiter with role one can able to perform certain actions, whereas recruiter with role two cannot able to perform the same action. So basically there is some difference between both these roles. If you wanted to see what is the difference, right, then you can use this compare roles. So you can compare both the roles and then system will show you which role has what benefit, what privileges, and which role does not have which privilege. So it will compare both these roles and gives us an analysis of which roles has what kind of privileges, duty roles, everything. And then we have something called a Simlet Navigator. So what is this functionality? So let's say if I wanted to see which navigations and all this role can able to perform, then I use this Simlet Navigator. If I just click on Simlet Navigator, so here this is how the navigator will look like. So here if you see, or you see this lock symbol, that means that this role does not have access to this particular screens. Okay. So here, if you see this role, right, recruiter will give them access only to hiring and agency hiring. Okay. And then it also gives access to the performance and then communicate. So wherever you, sorry, it doesn't give access to that also. It gives access only to the hiring. And you see like rest all, everything has been blocked here. So this is how we can able to understand which screens this role will give us access to. Let's say if I just search for human resource specialist. And if I just perform the same simulate navigator, right? See? Now, the lock symbol is not there for many screens here. And for all those things, you can able to, except payroll learning, you will have access to most of the things. Okay? So this will help us to see, which role will give us access to which kind of screens. So that is all about Sibnet Navigator. Next, we go to compare roles. So let's say I wanted to compare the recruiter role with, the secondary role. I'll just search for, I choose this recruiting manager. So I can do and compare. Okay. And here in the filter criteria, we have these three functionalities. Let's not worry about that for now. Okay. So when I compare, I can able to show all the privileges. Okay. And I also have other three options. So here, if you see, here I can able to see the privileges and the duty roles, everything here, which is there inside the role. And I can able to see which role has that functionality. For example, cancel job offer. Okay. So the cancel job offer functionality is not there with the recruiter, whereas it is there with the recruiting manager. So similarly, it will show both. If the privileges are there for both the roles, then it will show you the green tick mark for both the roles. Let's say I don't want to see, because there would be hundreds of lists here, okay? There will be hundreds of, privileges. So scrolling them, everything will not be sufficient. It will be very tough. So let's say I wanted to see all the privileges which is there in the first role, but not in the second role. Then I choose this filter. And then it shows me which all the privileges which is there in the first role, but not in the second role. Similarly, which is not there in the first role, but which is there in the second role. And then you can see the last option in both the roles. That means it will show all the privileges which is there in both the roles. Okay. So this is how you can able to look at both the steps. And then you also have an option to export this results to an Excel file. Okay. Or if you want, you can just click on the detach button, okay, so that you can see it on a full screen. And then we talked about the detach and query by example, right? I think in yesterday or day before yesterday's session. Okay. So I said, in most of the screens, you will be seeing this detach and query by example. If I just click on query by example, I get to see search by. Let's say, for example, I just type offer. It will show all the artifacts which has this keyword for offer. So this is the purpose of compare. Okay. Next, we have copy row. And before that, okay, edit role, we'll see that anyways. So first I click on copy row. So once I click on copy row, I get to see these two options, copy top row and copy top and inherited row. Let me just go back. Well, so what happens is what happens when we use this copy top row? When we use this copy top role and when we use copy top role and inherited roles. Okay. So when we choose this copy top role, let's take for employee as an example. Okay. Then what will happen is when we choose this copy top role, the role will be copied. Okay. And all the aggregate privileges, all the duty roles, everything, right? It will be they will not be duplicated. They will be linked to the new job, new role, whichever we created. Okay. So here, we have this aggregate privilege, person gallery. Okay. It will be linked to the new role which we have created. That's how the functionality of the copy top role is. Okay. Whereas if we choose the second option, which is copy top role and inherited role, right? What will happen is, all this will be duplicated. Okay. So the abstract role, right? When we create a duplicate of the employee role, the aggregate privileges will be linked to the new role, but the duty roles, all those things will be duplicated and then it will be linked to the new role. Okay. So that's how, that's the difference between, copy top role and the top role with inherited, copy top role and inherited roles. So we would normally, we would always recommend to use this first option, which is copy top roll around. The reason why we don't recommend on using the second option is this will create lot and lot of junk data in the system. Okay. So let's say, you are working for a customer who wants to create, based on the requirements, you end up creating like, let's assume 100 roles. Okay. Then each and every role will have like, roughly 400, 500 privileges. Okay. All combined together. Okay. If you create 100 roles, then, if you choose the second option, right, then what will happen is, you just imagine the kind of, the duties and privileges which would be duplicated. It's like, 100 into 500, that the kind of, duplicates which should be created in the system. And it would be very, very tough and hassle job in maintaining the application. So that is the main reason why we always prefer to have like, the copy top row. So that's one reason. And the second reason is like, let's say tomorrow Oracle is bringing up new functionalities, right? What they do is like, they will always add these functionalities to the seeded duty roles. Okay. So they'll be adding the functionalities to the seeded duty roles. And then, if we use the copy top role alone, right, then those new functionalities would be automatically added to our custom roles. But if we use the second role, right, second option, then what will happen is we have to manually find those privileges and then we have to add it in our duty roles. Because the duty role is created, a copy of the duty role is created. So these are some of the challenges we have, if we use the first and the second option. Okay. So these two options are clear, team. What is the functionality of these two options?
Yes, Ravi. Ravi, I have a question. Why we are copying the role? Why we are not making the changes in the seeded role?
See, basically in Fusion, right? Whenever we do any implementation, the thumb rule is we should not be using the seeded role. Okay, seeded role will always remain the same, and most important thing is you cannot edit the seeded role. If I just click on edit role, and if I just go to the security policies, right, you will see the delete button will not be enabled. And if I just go to role hierarchy, you will not see a delete option. Basically, you cannot edit anything in the seeded role. And the seeded roles are for, for your references. Okay. So if you wanted to create any roles, then, you basically take a copy of the seeded role and then you create your own role and assign that role to the employees.
Okay, got it.
So see, you may end up creating multiple recruiter roles. So you may end up creating multiple HR roles. You will definitely create multiple HR roles, for any pre-implementation. So then those, and you customers may not use all the privileges or functionalities which is there in the role, right? For example, if you take human resource specialist, that has more than 1,000 privileges. Okay. So the human resource specialist role is used for your core HR. It is used for core HR, absence management, talent management, you know, even for OTL, this human resource specialist role has been used. Okay. So if the customers you are implementing, right, they have only core HR, then what you do is we normally take the copy of the seeded human resource specialist role and then remove all the privileges from, the other modules which we don't want to see. So because of that, this is one of the reason why we always, take a copy of the role. And the primary reason is like, Oracle seeded roles are not supposed to be used for our employees not supposed to be used for our implementations. We as an implementation consultant, we will have, we can use that role. We will be assigning these roles to our user accounts. But for the real-time employees, we will not be assigning these roles. So now what we'll do is we'll just take a copy of the recruiter role. I'm going to choose only the top row. So once I click on copy, we'll be landing on this particular page. So first we have to give a name to our recruiter role. So what I'll do is I'll just put, and then space recruiter. And then when it comes to the role code, right, there are certain certain instructions, or prerequisites we have. First thing is like, we cannot begin any role with ORA. Okay. So we cannot begin a role with, ORA because it is reserved for the predefined data. And then, so what I will do is I'll just change it to UNO. and recruiter jobs name. And the role codes, just repeating, the role codes cannot have any space. Okay. And so that's why we always use this underscore, wherever we wanted to provide space. Okay. And then you can use, hyphen and all those, you can use the slash, but it's always as a best practice, right? When it comes to role code, we always use the underscore, but underscores rather than, hyphens or anything. Okay. So this is one. And then we have this description box here. So if you wanted to add some descriptions, you can use that for our, references. So once we, give the name, everything, right? Well, we can just click on the next button, which will take us to the functional security policies. Okay. So here you can able to see, all the privileges which, the recruiter can able to perform. So these are basically, it's a group of privileges. Okay. So some privileges are like, individual ones, and some privileges are like, the group ones. For example, search for manage, right? So here it says like, managed recruitment campaigns. But inside this managed recruitment campaigns, there will be a lot of, other processes as well. So these are basically the duty rules. Okay. So you can see the aggregate privileges and the duty rules, everything. So I will not gonna remove any privileges for now. We'll just keep it as is. Next, we'll go to data security. And data security here, we don't make any changes to this data security. See, once again, so I think someone has played around in the data security roles. Just give me 1 second. Let me just quickly check here. See, in the data security, right, you see this all values. So that means that, someone has assigned a data security to the seeded human resource specialist role, recruiter role. Let me just check that once. Let me just see. And if I just go back to the data security, yeah. So now it is all okay. So basically, what has done is like, for the seeded security role, right? We are not supposed to assign any data securities to the seeded roles. Okay. So, but here someone has assigned, data security to the seeded roles. That's why, like, all the data security policies has been updated. So let's not worry about that. We'll just skip this for now. And next we have role hierarchies. So here you will be able to see all the, privileges. Okay. So these are once you read through the privileges, right, you will understand what is the function of these privileges. Okay. So let's say, for example, if I just take, and search for the candidates, this privilege will give them, access to search the candidates. Okay. So you can able to see all those privileges. But for now, I'm not going to make any changes. What we'll do, we'll just duplicate this role. And then once we go to the summary page, you can able to see like, if you have added or removed anything from the functional security policy or data security rules, users, right? You can able to see those here. So once you look at the summary, you can just click on save and close, so that this particular role copy has been initiated. You can see you get a confirmation stating that your process was submitted. And if you wanted to see the status of it, you can just go to the administration tab, and then you see this, roles. If I just go to the role, sorry, role status, you can able to see the status of the roles. So this particular role, it is, still in processing. We can just use the refresh button. And then if you notice, we have this detach and query by example buttons. So let me just wait for this particular role to be copied. And meanwhile, since we are in this tab, right, we'll just go to this roles tab here. So here you can give an, prefix and suffix whenever, a role is being copied. Okay. So if you notice, when I copy the role, right, the GSC was automatically added as a suffix in the role name and in the role code. Okay. That's because we have defined it here. Okay. Let's say here, if I just defined it as UNO space, and then for the code, UNO hyphen underscore, right? And then if I just click on save, the changes were saved. And if I just go to the role, and when I click on copy, I paste this copy top code. You see, UNO underscore. So normally what we do is, once we start with the implementation, right, we used to define this, these are some prerequisites which we normally define. So that anyone whoever creates the role, right, will have a standard, prefix and suffix. So if I just, okay, now you see the role status, the copy role status is now it is showing us complete. That means that role has been created. Okay. If I just go to the roles and if I search by you will see this recruiter role. So this is how we can able to copy the role from the serial roles. So next what we'll do is I will just search for hiring manager. Hiring manager is an abstract role. Before that, let me just check if there is any data securities defined. So now we'll just quickly copy the hiring manager role also. Okay. So just like the recruiter, hiring manager will also have a lot of functional security policies, role hierarchies. So we can just skip everything for now. I'll just click on save and submit and close. So once I click on submit and close, the hiring manager role will also gets generated. So this is how we copy the roles, team. So any doubts or questions on how to copy the roles?
So right
Uh,
now
yeah, please
sorry,
go ahead.
Himanshu.
No, please go ahead.
So right now we created like copied two roles. So if we have multiple roles
Mhm.
to create, do we do it manually or is there any other process as well?
Okay, so let's say you wanted to take, a recruiter role and you wanted to create 10 different roles, just like recruiter role.
Yes.
We have to do it manually. We don't have a process. See, we can create a role and we can load all the privileges using HDLs, but that's going to be a very hectic task because for creating 10 roles, let's assume, to prepare the HDL, right, it takes huge amount of time because you have to extract all the, you need to add all the privileges, prepare the scripts, everything, right? So by the time you prepare the scripts, you can easily create 10 roles manually.
Okay.
Yes, Himanshu.
So if anyone changes any privileges on this role, can we trace some logs if anyone played up around on the role, or can we see something who had created this role?
Uh-huh. So we can use the reports, see for who has created the ones, you can create some custom BI reports to fetch those things. And apart from that, if you wanted to see who has made some changes, right, then here you have something called as audit reports.
Okay.
So you can enable certain audit reports which will keep a track of like what all the changes which was happened in the role, and that way you can able to you can able to understand.
Okay, so it is not maintained directly on the role screen only,
No,
but like some history or logs. Okay,
it is
we'll
not
have
maintained in the
to
role screen.
extract. Okay, we'll have to extract audit reports, but we can check that who changed, who removed
In
or
the
added
audit
any.
report, yes.
Okay,
So in the backend table set, you can check like when was the last updated, who has updated and all. Okay? But in the backend tables, in the BI reports, right, you cannot see what all the privileges has been removed or not. So
and
for that, you need audit reports.
what are the other options like general roles, user to user role membership, transfer status?
Okay, see, user to user role membership transfer is, let's say, for example, I go to a user and I wanted to, add some roles to this users. So what I do is I just click on edit and then I just click on add roles. And then you can add roles manually one by one. You can just search for the roles and you can add, or you can search for a user and add all the roles which this user has. For example, I search for Curtis. Okay. So Curtis Petty would have like, lots of roles. So I just add role membership from user. 89 roles were added. Okay. And then I just click on done and I click on save and close. Okay. So now it says a process was submitted. And if I just click on done, if I go to the administration, see, it is showing us processing.
Okay,
Okay. So when you copy a role from one user to another user, they triggers a process in the backend. And you
okay.
can see the status of the process here. Okay. And if I go to the general tab, okay, so this is about the certificates and the process reference. So this is something very advanced. Let's not worry about this one. So any other doubts or questions came from the roles? How to create a role?
So there is something called as AOR as well, right?
Yeah,
So
we'll
where
come back. We'll go to that here also.
and I was just exploring by myself.
Mhm.
So I saw that in apart from these roles, there is something called as candidate security profiles also
Yes.
in recruiting. So how does that help? Like,
We are yet to see that,
okay,
Himanshu. We have not stepped into the securities yet. We will see the securities.
yeah, because those three then together becomes very confusing, as
Yeah.
in when to use what.
And that's why I'm just going step by step. See,
Yes.
everyone wants to climb the ladders, right? But, it is always safe and, advisable to climb the ladder one by one, right?
Yes.
Jumping 4, 5 steps together, is not an right solution, right? So that's it. So now that we saw how to create the roles, everything, right? We'll also see like quickly on how to edit the roles. Let's say I take this recruiter. I'll take this recruiter role and I wanted to remove certain privileges. So I'll just click on the actions. I'll click on edit role. And when I click on next, so let's say when a recruiter is initiating a requisition or creating a requisition, just go to the application. Sorry, guys, I think there's some slowness in the instance. If I just go to personal I Okay, let me just explain it. So whenever a recruiter is creating a requisition, right, they can create requisition, using five different options. Okay, so that is what we call it as initiate requisition. And let's say if if you don't want certain options to be displayed to the recruiters when they create a requisition, right, then we have to remove those privileges. Just give me 1 second. The application is little slow. Yeah. So this shaped job. Okay. You see these five different options. Initiate job requisition using blank requisition, existing job position, and template. Let's say I don't want the recruiters to initiate any blank requisition. So I just select this privilege and then I just click on delete. Okay. And then we just get a warning. And once I click on yes, then that particular privilege is deleted. Okay. And similarly, let's say I don't want any recruiters to create the requisition using a job. Then I just delete it. Okay. And then I don't want them to use templates or anything. I just choose and delete. Similarly, I can just search for all the other privileges and I can able to delete, whichever is not needed. This is how we can able to edit the role. Let's say I don't want this particular, recruiter role, right, to delete a candidate, okay, or to delete a candidate job application. Then I just click on delete button. And once I remove this privilege, then now this any any user with this particular recruiter role, right, they cannot able to delete a job application. Okay? They can able to still delete a candidate, but they will not able to delete a job application. So now let's say I have a user. Okay? Let's say I have a user who has like uh, you know uh, this particular recruiter role, and then he also has this another recruiter role, okay, which has this privilege to delete job application, which has this privilege to initiate job requisitions using job, create initiate blank requisition. So what will happen in such case? Any idea, team, what will happen? I have this recruiter role, and then I have this recruiter senior. Okay. Recruiter role, they have candidate, delete candidate job application using job. Okay, so I have these two roles, and I have assigned both these roles to a user called Ravi. I have assigned this recruiter role also to Ravi, and then I also assigned recruiter senior role also to Ravi. So now tell me, what will happen for, when a Ravi is initiating a job requisition, can he create a job requisition using a job?
Yes.
Okay. Anupama, what is your thought? So when he can, this Ravi can able to delete candidate job application. Can he able to create a requisition using a job?
Mm,
Maybe.
Okay.
I'm not.
So Ravi can actually able to, delete candidate job application and he can able to initiate requisition using a job. The reason being is, the fusion rules and securities, right? As I said, we use this terminology called role-based access control. So if a user has two different roles and one role does not, one role restricts certain privilege and then another role gives them, certain privileges, right? Then it works on AND operations. So it's basically like, plus. Okay. So something is not missing here, something is here. So that means, you can able to perform those actions here. Okay. So that's how the fusion application works. So this is one thing. See, the reason why I explicitly wanted to talk about this is like, this is some of the challenges we'll see, in real time. Okay. So we need to make, the business users also, understand to this particular concept. See, the customer says that, this role does not have the privilege. See, they will be an assumption that, this role does not have, they will not be an assumption that, this role does not have this privilege. They will be an assumption that, this role should not able to perform this. Okay. So whereas when other rule says they can able to perform it, system they expect the system to take this particular in the top preference, but the system doesn't do that. The system take this particular as a top preference. Okay. So we this kind of challenges you guys will have when you start working on a real time projects. Okay, and especially if the customers have like very complicated securities, then this would be very challenging. In one of my project for Asian customer, we had created almost 170, 180 job roles, and then sorry, 180 data roles, and then we end up creating 40 or 50 job roles. Okay. So those kind of things, comes up when you work for some complex projects. So now that we saw how to create a role, and then we saw how to edit the role. Okay. So once I make some changes, I'll just click on next, 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 quickly go to the summary page. So in the summary page, if you see in the functional security policies, it says remote free. If I just expand this, I can able to see it. So I can see this action here. It says X. That means that I have removed it. If it says plus, then it means that I have added those. So once it is done, I'll just click on save and close. So this is how we can able to duplicate and seeded role and create a custom role for create a custom role. And then we also saw how to compare the roles, how to stimulate navigator, and then how to edit the roles. So now that we have just created the job role. Okay. Next, what we have to do is with this job role, the user can able to perform the task. Okay, they can able to go to hiring tab, they can able to go to the requisitions, candidate search, everything. But can they able to see any existing data? No, they cannot able to see any existing data. The reason being is they don't have the data security assigned to this role. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to assign the data security. How do we do that? We'll just go to home. So in order to assign data securities or in order to see the data security of a role, we'll go to my client group and then we have to go to workforce structures. And under workforce structures, if I just scroll down, you will see this data role and security profiles. Once we go to the data role and security profiles, here we have to search for the custom role which we have created. Yes, I'm sorry, just give me 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, Susan. So once we come to this data role in the security profile, so this is the place where we will be assigning the data security to the recruiter, to our custom roles which we have created. Okay. So here, once we come here, what we have to do is we have to search for the role for which we wanted to assign the data security. So I'll just search for recruiter. This is the recruiter role which we have created. Right. So once we search for any roles, right? Once we create any roles here, we can able to see if there is a data security assigned to this or not. How we can able to see that if a data security has been assigned, then you will see a small green tick bar here. For example, if I just search for employee, you see this tick bar here. That means that the security profiles has been assigned to it. Okay. That's how we can able to identify if there is a security profile assigned to it.
So do we have to assign security profile to the abstract role as well? Or is
Yes.
it like,
See, any custom role which we create, right, we have to assign the securities. Without assigning the security, they cannot able to access any data. Okay. So what we have to do is, in order to assign a data security, right, we can just, see data securities, right, before I even start assigning the data securities. There are two ways of, assigning data securities. Okay. So we talked about data roles, right? So let me just go back to the. So there are two ways of how the data securities can be done. So let's say the job role is you know, recruiter, okay, and data role. So we need to assign the data role, right? So I can assign the data role to the same job role. I can assign the data role to the same job role. How? I will just click on edit, and then I can assign the data security to the same job role. Or using this job role, right, I can create a separate data role. So how do I do that? I'll just click on the create button here. And then here, what I'll do is put, recruiter, I put India. So let's say I have customers from, India, USA, and UAE. So let's assume that, the customers, right, they have the presence in these three countries. And then the customer says that, Ravi, we want the recruiters from each country to see only the requisitions from their countries. Okay. So the recruiter from India should not able to see the requisitions of US. The recruiters from US should not able to see the requisitions of India and UAE. Similar likewise for all the other recruiters. Okay. So when we have, such kind of requirements, right, we don't need to create three different job roles. Okay. So we can create one job role called Una Recruiters, and then we can create three different data roles. For example, I can just create something like this. Okay, so I can create these three different data roles using one job role. Okay. So what I'll do is I am creating a data role, right? So here in the job role, I have to search for the job role which we have created. I'll just search for Una Recruiter. Okay. And once I choose the job role, I'll just click on next. Next, the next tab which we have is the security criteria. So this is where we define the security criteria. Yeah. So we have different security criteria like organization, position, country, person, public person, payroll, and job requisition. Yeah. So these are the different criteria which we need to define. First, we have organization. So first we need to understand which organization this particular recruiter should have access to. Okay. But our requirement is that they can able to access all the requisitions from their country, right? So if we define organization, then it will not be very effective. So what we'll do is each and every security profile, right, will have one standard security profile, which is view all. Let me just search for it. So you will see this value view all organization. Similarly, you will see that in all the security profiles. Okay. So let's say if you wanted to restrict the recruiters from seeing only certain positions, then we use this position security profile. See, the securities are like very advanced topic. Okay, so it's like it's a very big topic. We can have a separate 100-hour session for only for the securities. That complex and vast topics we have. But let's try to stick at the very high level and let's focus from the recruiting perspective as well alone, so that we can be more focused on our topics. So our criteria is that they should see the requisitions only from their own country. Right? So what I'll do is I'll just give you all. So for the person and public person, I'll just give you all. Next, we have the job requisition security profile. So this is where we need to restrict on which country requisitions they can able to see. Team, I'm sorry, just give me 1 minute, yes, so sorry. Okay, so sorry, team. So we use this job requisition security profiles to restrict on which kind of requisitions this particular recruiter can access. Okay? So we can create our own security profiles, or if you want, we can use the seeded ones. The seeded ones are like view all. So let's see here, we have a create option. Okay? So we can create a security profile here, or we can create it separately as well. So it's better we do it separately and then tag the security profile here. If I just go to workforce structures, here, if I just scroll down, you see this job requisition security profile. So if I search, you can able to see all the requisition security profiles which is created. So what we'll do is we'll create our own requisition security profile. I'll give UNO requisition security. So here we can define how we wanted to restrict the requisitions. Okay. So for that we use this functionality here called as area of responsibility. Okay. So what is an area of responsibility? Okay. So area of responsibility AWR, right? It's basically we use this AWRs for securities and for the approvals primarily. And apart from that, we use it for the onboarding checklist in multiple places as well. So coming to a work, what is the functionality of an a work? So to give a layman example, right? If you remember in the school times, right? We used to have this class leaders. Okay. So what is the class leaders are the responsible for that particular class. So similarly in office, once we come to our office life, right? We used to have this HRs. So one HR would be responsible for one set of employees from, a set of employees from one particular business, okay, or, one particular division or one particular location. Similarly, we'll have multiple admin teams. Okay. So one admin team would be responsible for, all the admin related activities for the employees of that particular building. Right. So basically, we use this terminology called as, POCs, right? Point of contacts. So we can also call AWOS as a point of contacts or single point of contacts. Okay. So we use this AWOS to restrict, like, what kind of, the data the employees can able to see. And AWOS will also be used for, like, to identify who is responsible for certain set of employees. Okay. So that is what, the area of responsibilities is. So requisition security profile, we secure, using the AWOS. So I just choose the checkbox, and then we have to choose the responsibility type. So this we have a responsibility type here called as recruitment representative. This is a seeded value. So once I choose this responsibility type, how we wanted to restrict the requisition. So these are the different options through which we can restrict. We can restrict using job family, job function, job location, organization, recruiting type. So here we are going to define only the option here. Okay. So let's say I'm going to choose secure by location. Okay. So once I choose secure by location, I will just click on save and close. And if you notice that we just mentioned secure by location, which location, how to secure, we have not defined it, right? So that we will define it at the employee's record. Okay. So for now, we have just created a requisition security profile, mentioning that this requisitions can be able to secure based on the locations, and we have chosen an AWOR type. So what we'll do is we'll just go back to our role, search for the requisition security profiles, and we will see the one which we have created. Okay. So this is how we can able to create and assign the requisition security profiles. Okay. So how to assign the AWOS to the employees, we'll see that a little later. And next, coming to Himanshu's question, right? The candidate security profile. If I just go back here, if I just go back to the workflow structures, just like how we created the requisition security profile, right? We have the candidate security profile. So what is the use of candidate security profile? So candidate security profile is basically used to restrict, which candidates the recruiter can able to see. Okay. So that's the purpose of, the candidate security profile. So we can just create, just like how we created the requisition security profile, right? We can create candidate security profile. And in the candidate security profile, we can define dimensions. Okay. Let's say we can, restrict based on the candidate's country, which country the candidate is from. Okay. And then we can restrict by recruiting type. So how is recruiting, how would the recruiting type works is basically we can restrict, to which recruiting type the candidate has applied. Okay. And then the person type. So every candidates will also have a person type. For example, external candidates, okay, internal candidates, ex-employees, ex-contingent workers. Okay. So these are the different person types we have. So based on that, we can restrict. And if it is an internal employee, we can restrict using the grade level. Okay. and then we can restrict based on the business unit. So business unit, grade, these are all we can restrict for the internal candidates. When it comes to the external candidates, it's about, the candidate country recruiting types. Okay. So just like how we created the requisition security profile, we can create a candidate security profile as well. So let's say I choose country, I can just search for other countries here. And then I have to assign the security profile to the role which we have created. So currently in the role, you see, we don't see an option called candidate security profile because we have to enable certain configurations, which we'll see that, in the coming sessions. So once we define, we'll just click on next. So once you click on next, you can see, each and every security profiles in detail. But if you wanted to skip, you can just directly click on the review button so that you can just directly go to the review page where you can able to see all the security profiles which you have used. And then once it is done, we'll just click on submit. So now we have assigned the data secure. We have created a data role, okay, using the job role for India. Similarly, we can create it for other countries. So we just created one for India, right? So now what we'll do is we'll search for the hiring manager. Okay. So if I just search for hiring manager, what I'll do is for hiring manager, we'll assign the data security to the job role itself. Okay. So that we'll have one job role along with the data security. And here, just like how we give for the recruiter, right? I'll just click on view all. Since it's a line manager, I'll just use this seeded option, which is view manager hierarchy. That means he can able to search for the candidates from their hierarchy. So, and for public person, we'll just choose view. Okay. And when it comes to the requisition security profile, we have this seeded one, which is, view my team's requisition. Okay. So that means that, we can able to see the requisitions for which he is an hiring manager, and he can see all the requisitions for which, either is, any one of his, direct reportees is an hiring manager or a recruiter. So that is why we have the seeded value, which is view my team's requisition. Once it is done, I'll just click on review and I'll click on submit. So once we assign the data securities, right? If you just do and search again, you can able to see that the green tick mark here. Okay. If I search for recruiter, you will see this ones. Okay. So this is how we can able to assign the data security to the job role and the abstract roles which we have created. Okay. So we can assign a data role on top of the job role itself, or we can assign a data role. We can create a separate data role inheriting the job role. So any doubts or questions so far, team? So next, what we'll do is let me just take some user. Yeah. So I'm going to take this particular user, Ahmad, okay, and we are going to assign this. He is going to be our recruiter for this particular role. Okay. So I'll just look at this. Job role. We are not. Hiring manager. So what we'll do is we'll first assign the recruiter role to this particular user. So in order to assign the recruiter role, right, which role should we assign to this particular user, Ahmed? Should we assign UNO recruiter or UNO recruiter India?
UNO recruiter,
Why not recruiter India?
because that is a data role, right?
That's correct. But if you assign the UNO recruiter, right? If you assign this UNO recruiter, you will not have access to any data. Right? So to access the data is why we created this data role. Okay. So the thumb rule is whenever you created a job role and separate data roles, right? See, this data role basically inherits the job role. Okay. So whenever you create such things, we should always assign the data role to the employees. Okay. Data role to the users, basically. This we should always assign the data role to the users, okay, and not the job role. So what I'll do is I'll search for this data role. And I'll just click on add role and I'll choose for the data role which is created. And if you notice this role, right, if you look at the role code, if you remember when we created the data role, right, we did not give a role code. Okay, the role code is automatically generated. Okay, so what is the format? It takes the code of the job role and then at the end it will append the data here. Okay, so whenever you see data in the last, right, that means it's a data role. This is how we can able to identify it. So now I will assign this data role to this user. And I'll just click on save and close. Okay. And let me also reset the password. So now what we have done is we have just assigned this role to this user and we have reset the password. Okay. So now that we assigned the data role to this user, can he able to see the data? Can he able to see the requisitions for the particular country? We'll see that. Let me log in as this user. First, let me just move this to our so I am gonna log in as our recruiter. Okay, so he has access to my clan group hiring. And if I go to the hiring, and if I remove the filter state, he cannot able to see any requisitions. Any idea, team, like why you cannot able to see the requisitions? Because we have assigned the data role to him. We have assigned the data role, right? But he still cannot able to see the data. Any idea why he cannot able to see the data?
So the requisitions are created by the manager, right?
But still, for the recruiter role, right? We have given the requisition security profile where we choose the AWAR and we told them that, based on the AWAR scope, we can able to see. So the reason why this user cannot able to see any requisitions is because we have not assigned the AWAR to this employee. So this user does not have the AWAR which we have used for our requisition security profile. So what we'll do is we'll go to the area of responsibilities and then we'll assign the AWAR to this user. So I'll just click on add. And here in the responsibility type, I'm going to choose this AWAR and I'll just put your name underscore recruiter underscore India. And I'll just choose 1st of September as the from date. And here we have to choose the location, right? We're going to define here. So I'll go to recruiting location hierarchy. What I'll do is I'll just give you United States. Okay. And I just click on submit. So now I've given him United States. Okay. So that means that you should be able to see all the requisitions from which are created for United States. Please check the details. Then take the form. But let me just see if it is visible for the user. It's still not visible. It is taking some time. Now it is assigned. We will just sign out and sign in. So now if you see, he can able to access all the requisitions. He has access to 96 requisitions only. Okay. The reason why he has access to 96 requisitions because he has, the only 96 requisitions are created for United States. And when I try to create a requisition, here, right, it still shows job and position. I mean, existing blank, which we have actually removed it. But for some reasons, it is still showing up. I'll just check on that. But this is how we can able to create the roles, modify the roles, copy the roles, assign data securities to the roles. So, any doubts or questions, team, on the roles, AOS, whatever? See, I understand this is, this looks very complicated, but in the beginning. But once we start practicing, right, then things would become, a little easier for you guys.
So basically, when we need to segregate this, like say, the US recruiter should not see data for India, and Indian should not see data for UK, or that kind of segregation, then we will use a area of responsibility and just assign the country on that AOR, and that will enable or disable the person to see those particular locations only, or
That's
even
correct.
organizations.
Correct.
Okay. So the basis for segregations are only this organization, locations, job family, and job functions, right?
Yes,
So if we say that within a particular job family also, or within particular organization, certain jobs or certain positions should not be
exclusive.
visible. Yeah.
See, basically, when you give them access to, a business unit, for example, right? And then inside that business unit, certain positions they should not able to see. That level of restrictions we cannot able to do. That we call it as, from Oracle terms, we call it as granular level access. So that kind of, granular access we cannot restrict.
Right. And
Okay.
how can we, like, okay, then that we restrict them by, so field level access, how we can define that?
Field level analysis.
So say we have created new fields, right? And they, certain fields are
So, for
applicable
which
only.
fields you are referring to?
Um, let's say on the job application, there are certain fields which the US team demands, and that has not to be there for India, right?
For the
So
candidate job applications.
yeah,
When
so
the candidate that we'll see that Himanshu, that's like way ahead of you're talking. We have this one, right? Candidate job application flow. We will see that in once we go to that particular topic.
okay, yeah,
Okay.
right. Because once we'll get the chapter of creating fields and all, then we can see that, right?
Yes, that's correct. So we are just, we have not even gone into the core recruiting topics. We are just,
Mm.
we have just completed the users and securities. So starting from tomorrow is when we are going to start, the core setups for the recruit module.
Okay.
Okay. So what we'll do is, team, we'll just take a quick pass for today, and then we'll regroup tomorrow at 7 a.m. IST. And Anupama, see if you can able to connect with Rupa or any other spots from Geeks, and then try to complete your enrollment.
Sure, sure, Ravi.
Okay. So thank you so much, guys. You guys have a great day. Be safe, and let's connect tomorrow at 7 a.m. IST.
Thank you.
Sure. Ravi, what is your full name?
Any specific reason for that, Anupama?
No, I'm just asking out of curiosity.
Let's not let's stick with our first names, please.
Okay, okay, no problem.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi.